Hello guys, welcome to Knowledge India once again. Please type in the chat window and let me know if you can hear me properly. We have gone live just now. Please let me know guys once you are able to hear us. You can just you can write in the live chat. Are you able to hear us well? All right. I'm able to see your messages. Just give me 1 minute and we will start. Just 1 minute guys. Okay. Um, Sorry, we were just trying to set up something. Um, okay, let us get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session. We will get started as discussed in the last session, we had told that we will be able to, will be able to take questions on IAM related topics. So, as shown on the screen, one out of two things we can do. Basically, we can take questions. We can take questions on IAM and anything career cloud career related. I was just having a bit of hiccup here, so that's why it took time. Sorry for that. um, so feel free to introduce yourself while you ask your question. Maybe you can write along with the question that from where you are joining, your name, and you can put your question and we'll try to take that. What I was also thinking, I will try to take some examples and tell you guys that how the uh, different features of IAM get used. So I was thinking to talk about that as well. So let me know how many of you are there. If you can put some comment in the chat window, that would be great. Where are you joining from? Let's put names and where are you joining from. Let's do that. Can you put it in the chat? Okay. So I can see we have got Praneeth, Anmol, Niranjan from US, Pratyush joining from Singapore, Manjunath from Bangalore, Tirupati, Dibendu. Great, good. All right, guys. Thanks for putting in there. So let us move ahead. So okay, we have got Zahir from Melbourne, Yaksha from Hyderabad, Biplab. Good, welcome, guys. Um, so let us do this. What I wanted to explain you first is I'll give you some of the some of the concepts, and after that, of course, I can take more questions as well from you. Uh, Suraj is saying, can you please explain why should we use IAM? So I had actually posted along with this session that you should go through our security playlist where most of the IAM concepts are already covered with detailed demo and how you should go ahead and use it. So it is important that you do that, right? That way it will be helpful, and you can come and actually ask your doubts in this particular session. That is the model which we are following. So if you go to our channel and just go to the playlist section and look at the security playlist, that would help you. I'll give you guys some example and scenarios now. Uh, how many of you watched the IAM permissions boundary video which we released recently? Can you please say yes or no if you have watched or not? Good. Some of you have watched and many of you have not watched as well. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and keep it a bit interactive, okay, today. So, Mile is asking, can you tell us about IAM permission boundary? Yeah, I'll try to tell that, but as a concept, in order to explain it completely, it itself will, I mean, permissions boundary in itself will take more than half an hour, and that's why I have put a detailed video around it. So please go and watch that video on the channel. It is one of the latest video. But in addition to that, I'm gonna pick up a scenario now, and we will discuss by taking that scenario. And I would actually want you guys to also comment and let me know what you think at every step. Okay, so it will be a bit of knowledge testing as well, right? That whether we are doing things or not. Are we okay with that model, guys? Will you be replying to the questions which I ask? So the first question which I want to ask here is, so I am within a company, I'm gonna set up their AWS accounts, right? So my first question is, can we go ahead and have multiple master accounts uh, within an organization for that company? Can I go ahead and have multiple master pair account? Master or pair account, kind of it is same. It is the account which is going to be at the top, and you do all the payment from that particular account to AWS, right? For example, in an organization, there might be 100 AWS accounts. Will you go and pay from every AWS account? Are you going to pay the bill? No, that would be very inconvenient. So what you do, you put all the AWS accounts into one organization, right? So my question there is, can you go ahead and have multiple master pair account within an organization? Let us see. Right, most of you are saying no, and yes, that's the correct answer. You cannot have multiple master pair account within one organization. It could be only one, right? Um, so I'm trying to put a structure here. Typically, in an organization, you know, you will have you'll have different accounts like this. Just an example. This is the actual numbers, of course, would differ, but this should give you an idea. So there might be multiple AWS accounts, and what we do is, uh, you know, um, uh, okay, Praneeth is saying, I think, uh, Praneeth is saying that I think it's not practical. However, for permissions, we can have it, right? Uh, till now, they have not launched it formally. Okay, formally, you can have uh, only one master pair account within an organization. That's how it is. Maybe after some time they'll bring, but currently it is only one. Okay. Um, so there is a question here from, I don't know, the name is not coming. I requested that please put your names, guys, while you are putting the question. Need to set MFA for IAM individual users. Anyway, we can do bulk IAM users. I don't think you can do it in bulk, uh, as far as my knowledge goes. Okay, right. So here is the thing. So we got a master pair account and we have got multiple AWS accounts within the organization. So how do we go ahead and organize them? We set up an organization, and uh, there will also be OUs, right? And we put things within OUs. So for example, I may choose to put an OU here, and I may call it central, or let's say view agnostic accounts. That might be better. And I may go ahead and have PU specific accounts, right? So I may go ahead and create BOUs like this, organizational units, and then after that I may choose to put, let's say, security and logging account within BU agnostic accounts organizational unit, and tooling account and business unit account in the BU specific accounts organizational unit. Now, if you guys haven't watched the organizations video, you should go ahead and watch it. But this is how we will configure it. Now, let's talk a bit about IAM. So this is the structure which we are dealing with, right? One of the things which we try to do on Knowledge India is we try to talk and do the practical stuff, right? Instead of just trying to tell you something which is more just theoretical. Well, on that note, if you are liking this video and this example, please do hit the like button and share this video with your friends on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or any other good platform which you use. Please do that. Now, the question here is, I'm gonna ask you guys a situation. So the admin wants to ensure that uh, this particular company, this company or this organization has got has got infrastructure running in two different regions, right? So they use uh, Ohio region as their primary region, and they also use, let's say, Singapore as their secondary region. So these two regions they are using, and they run resources only in these two regions. Now there is a requirement that users should not be able to launch resources in any of the regions except Ohio and Singapore. So let's say somebody tries to create an S3 bucket in Mumbai region, he should get a deny message, right? So that's our requirement. Now the question to you guys is, what is the best mechanism to achieve this functionality? Remember, you have to do this for all the AWS accounts within the organization. What mechanism will you follow to achieve that? You have to deny the resource creation in all the regions except Ohio and Singapore. Please let me know your answers. Are you guys able to understand the question? Any idea, guys? How can you solve it? No? Wow, that was kind of a lot of silence. Okay, Pratyush and Raghavendra have replied. Kriti also has replied. Okay, Kriti, Praneeth, yes, SCP can be defined. Service control policy. That's the answer to achieve this type of effect, right? When you want to apply a certain restriction or even want to allow something common across multiple accounts, right? Then you go ahead and use a service control policy. See, the effect which I asked for, that effect is common, isn't it? Across all the AWS accounts, whether there are 4 or there are 10 or 20, it is all common. So such type of effect I can go ahead and achieve via SCP, service control policy. There is a detailed video on service control policy. If you haven't watched it yet, you should go and watch that. Okay, you will find all of this in the security playlist on our channel. Just spend a minute, go to the channel now and open the playlist section and bookmark that playlist, okay, if you haven't completed it yet. So you can do SCP to basically you know uh, uh, you can use SCP to go ahead and deny resource creation in any of the region except these two. Great. Now there is another requirement. The requirement is that in the tooling account, as you can see in the tooling account, there are certain people who are, different type of administrators, let's say storage and network administrators, right? So they will have all the permissions nearly in that account. They can go ahead and create stuff, delete stuff. uh, for example, they can create EC2 instances, S3 buckets, all of that. They can delete it as well. Now, but the requirement is that they should not be able to delete they should not be able to delete um, a certain S3 bucket, right? There is a certain S3 bucket within the tooling account where, let's say, all the tooling related setup files are kept, right? There's an S3 bucket. So the question now is that how do we or what do we do so that all the tooling administrators, right, who are there in this tooling account, they should not be able to delete a particular S3 bucket. And let me add to it, a particular S3 bucket, and also there are, let's say, two EC2 instances which act as some type of tooling server. Nobody should be able to terminate it. So if these two things we want to achieve, what mechanism would you follow? Any thoughts, guys? So Praneeth says permission boundary, assign bucket policy, define an IAM group policy and attach boundary to it. Okay, many of you replied, but I think out of these, the answer from Lokesh is best. Why? Because see, in this case, I said these people have permission to create and delete most of the resources. So you can just write their IAM permissions in such a manner in which you add a deny statement for deny statement for that S3 bucket and for that EC2 instance. You can just do that way. Create an IAM group, put all of these tooling administrators into that group, and attach certain deny permissions. Remember, or understand, I'm not talking about permission boundary at this point. I'm saying attach deny permissions in their IAM group, right? And with that, they'll not be able to delete that S3 bucket. They'll not be able to terminate the EC2 instance. The reason why I added the EC2 thing in the question is so that you just do not look at bucket policy. If I tell you only the S3 requirement, you will tend to think that okay, we can go ahead and just do it via S3 bucket policy. Yes, that is also a mechanism, but that you can do only for S3, right? Because S3 supports something like bucket policy, which is like resource-based policy. Whereas for EC2, you do not have any resource-based policy. So you need to control via IAM, which is the central thing. Now, somebody might say, or you might be thinking that then it is slightly confusing. Then why should we, or when should we go ahead and use permission boundary, right? If we can achieve it just by attaching the permission or writing the deny statement in the permission itself, then then why, or when should we use permission boundary? So those of you who have watched the video should understand this. So important bit is, let's say if you have a control in your account in such a manner that you are creating all the different IAM users, groups, etc. IAM users, IAM groups, roles, etc. Then you always can go ahead and control the amount of permission which any user would get, right? Because you will be writing their IAM policy. But on the other hand, if you give the user creation part or policy writing part itself to a third party or to another team, where in any organization there will be a very small team, which who is trusted with everything, right? They'll have all the permissions, but you cannot have a lot of people who are given just all the permissions, right? So what happens is, if this small set of group gives rights or IAM permissions to a certain other group, and that secondary group is responsible to create all the IAM users, right policies, etc. In that case, permissions boundary becomes very, very important. Okay, that becomes very, very important. I'm not saying that's the only place where you should use it, but it becomes very important in that scenario, right? In order to understand it more, I would request you to watch permission boundary video so that you get more clarity on it. Otherwise also, it is a good practice that if you want that within your account there are certain things which you surely want to deny to everyone, then you have to just ensure that whenever any user is getting created or any role is getting created, a permission boundary gets attached to that user or role. And because of that permission boundary, that those things are denied. You will see all of that in the permission boundary video, so I'll not go more on that. So I wanted to take this example and kind of talk, so that you understand that. See, in the example which I asked now, in this you will not go ahead and use SCP, because SCP is something you will use when you want to do things which is common, right? A restriction which you want to enforce in a common manner across multiple accounts, then you go ahead and use SCP. Whereas here the requirement was, the requirement was, that you need to restrict deletion of certain resources within one account. So you will do something which is more local to that account. You will not go for SCP. Okay. um, Sheikh Anwar is asking a question. Let me see, what does he say? I have one bucket. I want to give permission to one user of same bucket among 50 user, and all user have S3 full access. I cannot understand that question. Can you rephrase the question and ask again? I'm I'm not able to comprehend it really. Okay, so that was some stuff which we wanted to discuss. Let's try and take questions from you. If you want to ask any questions or doubts, please put your name and the question, and we'll try to answer that. And if you are still watching this video and you have not liked it, then please go ahead and do that as well. I'll because all of you have connected live, I'll tell you guys you know uh, some more information. So as I had announced, we are bringing a couple of interviews with different cloud professionals. Uh, I will be sharing that with whom we are launching putting the interview very soon. I'm currently doing that and will edit it and then will put it out. So I'm sure you will get to learn a lot. There is one interview which is going to come out about a person who started the career from a Linux administrator type of background, and then how he or she successfully got into cloud career and currently working as a cloud engineer I would say. So how that transition happened. So that type of thing. And there are also a couple of other interviews lined up. So you will start seeing many interviews in the upcoming weeks, and yeah, some more videos in the pipeline. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put it now in the chat window. We'll take that. As I told you, um, coming from a particular VPC IP range, yes, Praneeth, you can do that. You can do that in the bucket policy. You will have to put condition, and in the condition you can specify the VPC IP range. That way you can do it. Difference between IAM roles and policies. So policy is something which you attach. Policy is that actual JSON file where you write what permission you are allowing or denying. Okay, that's what is IAM policy. And once you write this thing, okay, once you write an IAM policy, you attach it to either user or IAM role. So based on the fact that which policy you have attached, an IAM user or role, an IAM user or role would get uh, you know would get uh, would get the permissions accordingly. That's how it is. I mean, unless until you have attached a policy to an IAM user or role, IAM user or role cannot do anything. So whatever policy you attach, based on that, they will get the necessary rights. Okay, let me see. Praneeth is saying I tried to do that to media store, but it is not working. Uh, I think Praneeth, what you can do is you go ahead and create a VPC endpoint, right? Create a VPC endpoint, and then what you do in your bucket policy, in the conditions, you specify the access via VPC endpoint. That would be a better method. Yep, do that way. Okay, just see that how to specify a VPC endpoint in the bucket policy condition. There are in the documentation it is given. You can do that. All right. What is the pricing for public IP? You can easily go ahead and Google that. Why do you need to ask me that particular thing? Okay, I mean, okay, if the question is between public IP and elastic IP, public IP as such, there is no charge. That is free. For elastic IP, there is a charge. Okay, that you can go ahead and check. For public IP, there is no charge. Rohit is Gopi is asking for the cross account policy. IAM roles will control the owner, but resource policy also works for the combination works. For the cross account policy, IAM roles will control the owner, but resource policy also works for the combination. You need to ask the question a bit, in a clear manner. I'm not able to understand the question very well. See, there is nothing called cross account policy. There are cross account roles, but you do not have cross account policy. Probably write the question properly once again, and I'll try to take that. Rohit here. Rohit is saying, does master pair account need to have a cross account role in other AWS accounts? It's not mandatory, but Rohit, but it helps, is what I would say. So normally what happens when you set up your master pair account, or basically whatever you make as your master account, after that, when you set up child accounts or member accounts, I can say, what happens as part of that setup process, an IAM role gets created in the child AWS accounts or the member AWS accounts, and that particular role um, allows a user from master account to get inside the member account. For example, in this particular diagram which we are seeing, when we set up the organization, what would happen is an IAM role gets created in security account, logging account, tooling account, and business unit account. And then somebody who has access to master pair account can actually can actually get inside any of these accounts by assuming that role. Now that should not be used on day to day basis, of course, right? But in certain scenarios where something needs to be done which is quite restrictive, or is needs to be done by a very specialized set of people, they can go ahead and use it. But as such, it should not be used on day to day basis, but that role should be kept. And in the format of creation of new account via organization, that role creation is inbuilt. I request you guys to go ahead and try and create a new account from organization, and you will see that. Okay. All right. That was the question from Rohit. Neeraj is saying, how can we restrict the accidental delegation of entire bucket access to a specific users, either via bucket policy or access point policy? What you could do, Neeraj, is you can go ahead and write a permissions boundary, and in that permissions boundary, you deny the access of that particular bucket, and then attach that permission boundary to all the users and groups, or maybe just create an IAM group, attach all the users to that group, and just look at probably adding the permission boundary, or in whatever way. The answer for that would be permission boundary. You can go ahead and do that, so that even if by mistake somebody gives permission via bucket policy also, people would not be able to access it. um, Sometimes it happens, Narendra. I think for that specific thing, you should raise a support case, or have you tried deleting that bucket via root user? Try to log in as root user and try to delete it and see. All right. Full bucket. Okay, so this is how Sheikh has asked this question again. So in an organization, there are 30 users and have full access of S3 bucket. So they probably have got S3 star or S3 full access policy. I created one bucket and I want to allow only one user to access and deny 29 users. So what you could do, no, there are two ways to do it. One is, uh, for all the 29 users, you can put them in a group and you can write a deny policy only for that one bucket, right? Though they have S3 full access, you write one deny policy additionally, custom policy you will have to write, in that you say S3 start deny, and you give the resource. In the resource, you give that particular S3 bucket ARN. So that way, for those 29 people would be able to access all the S3 bucket, but they'll not be able to access that one S3 bucket, right? That is one method. And whereas for your 30th user, you will not attach that deny policy. That is one way of doing it. Or the other way of doing it is, if you do not want to do IAM, in that new bucket, right? The bucket which you're talking about, in that new bucket, what you do in the bucket policy, you can specify a deny statement where principal is not equal to one particular user. So the user which you want to allow, you say when the user is not equal to that, then you deny. That way you can write in the bucket policy. That is the answer to Sheikh. Let me see if I have more questions. Vikram, first I wanted to thank you for videos as they help me a lot in preparing certification. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Vikram. Uh, Questions are easy to get, not appreciation. Thank you for appreciating there. Uh, okay, Neeraj also has acknowledged. Thank you, Neeraj. Just wanted everyone here to be aware of session time limit of 1 hour on role chaining. Uh, yeah, but and that's where I would say, uh, instead of ins- as much as possible for your regular day-to-day operations, right? When a particular user is assuming a role, try to operate in such a manner that a user assumes one role and gets into the area where he can do his work. That way it would be better, right? So in that time you can actually change the session length and keep it longer as well. So normally when we set up AWS SSO, and via SSO we define permission sets, uh, and in the permission set we can specify the session length. So you can actually specify anything up to 12 hours. What is the difference between IAM and bucket policy in real time? Which one is preferred to secure a bucket? Sunil is asking. So you, you need to, the question should be, what is difference between IAM policy and S3 bucket policy? So you can use both of these to actually allow or restrict the access onto S3 bucket. The reason why S3 bucket policy exists is S3 is a very old service. Uh, in Amazon, you can say it got launched as one of the first services in 2006. So because of that, it has got additional, permission concept apart from IAM. IAM got developed or came into shape a bit later. So S3 bucket policy still exists. What you need to understand is, you will use IAM policy if you want to give permission to users to different resources within that account. Whereas an S3 bucket policy could be used to even to cross account access. Let's say you have a bucket in account one and you want to give access to a user in account two. How will you do that? You can write an S3 bucket policy. You can do it via IAM as well, but in that time, how it would be? It would be that in your account one, you will create an IAM role and you will allow the user in account two to assume that role. That way, the user will come and access your bucket. Or there could be another method that you just allow in the S3 bucket policy and you specify the ARN of that user in the account two. So it's not like which is more secure and which is not secure. It is about when should you use which one. If you typically, if you ask me, when you want to allow cross account access, or you want to allow access to an external entity to an S3 bucket, then you put that in the S3 bucket policy. uh, and for all the entities within your account, when you want to do, you do it via IAM policy. Okay, that's how we do it. Let us see next. We have got few more minutes to close the session. Let me see. Got it. Narendra is saying hi. Hello, Narendra. Uh, how to give temporary access to some user who can only assign detach a specific policy to rest of the users, such as one of the S3 read policy, but not any other policy. So Nagori has asked this question. Nagori, you can do it. uh, First of all, if you want to give temporary access, I mean, it's like you create the user and then you delete that user, right? That way you can do. In addition to that, how to actually restrict this thing, that restriction would happen, you can do it with the help of permissions boundary. So watch our permissions boundary video, go to our channel, go to videos, you will see an IAM permissions boundary video. Watch that, you will understand it. Narendra is saying, I want to join your next training batch. Okay, yes, Narendra, you can do that. Connect with me on LinkedIn, leave a message there. That is the best way to, to kind of block your place. And yeah, our current batch is starting on 18th. That's how it is. Unfortunately, that is already full. Let me see next. Uh, Vikram is saying, I'm looking to get an opportunity as a cloud engineer architect. I wanted to know, how do I get serious hands-on on various, can you suggest on that? Vikram, if you want to do real hands-on, there should be someone to tell you how to do that. One of the method would be, if you want to do on your own, you can go to AWS account, and there are a lot of uh, you know like steps are given how to set up different services. There are many examples given as well in the form of labs. You can try your hands using that. Otherwise, you'll have to look for some opportunity where somebody teaches you, with real scenarios and gives you to solve that. We are actually doing something of that sort only in our hands-on training. If you are interested in knowing about it, go to our blog knowledgeindia.in and you can read about that. All right. Is there a way to limit the number of unsuccessful attempts via IAM? I'm assuming you mean to. Do you mean to say IAM user trying to log in to the console? If that is the case, that's what I'm assuming. Then what you can do is you can you know uh, keep a count using CloudWatch. You need to enable CloudTrail, of course, and then uh, you create, uh, you know, you look for the unsuccessful login events, count it, and when it crosses a certain number, you may have a Lambda function which goes and disables that particular user. That type of automation you'll have to write. Uh, Narendra, I think I answered your question. Let me see. Praneeth, you can add an IAM inline policy for this specific user who needs access, right? Is this approach wrong for Anwar Sheikh question? Yes, we can do that, Praneeth. We can add an IAM inline policy, but what we also have to keep in mind is Sheikh is saying that other people, right? All the other 29 people, they have got S3 full access. So we also need to do something to deny their access to this new bucket or to this one bucket, right? So you need to do something to deny the permission, and that's where I was saying you need to deny, because they already have got S3 full access. So that gives them access to any new bucket getting created as well automatically. I hope that makes sense. um, Gopi is saying if you want to create cross account role for S3 access, when do we prefer IAM roles assuming other, and when do we prefer bucket policies? That's a good question. So let me try to answer this one. See, you will go for you will go for um, cross account role when you are trying to write some code in the account too, and that code you can actually do as assume role operation. Let's say you are writing a lambda function there, or you have written an application, and in that you have flexibility to include assume role. Then you can do that way. Okay, you in your code you can write assume role, and you assume the role in the account one, and via that you access. Some of the times it might be a bit difficult that you are not writing the code now, the code was already there, and you have decided to probably keep the bucket in the other account. Or maybe it is in this way that you do not have full control as such in the account 2. Rather, the account 2 belongs to some service provider, and what he has said is, give me read access to one of your bucket where you are putting uh, all the all the billing related file or some log files, let's say. In such cases, the account 2 or the service provider is not going to assume an IAM role, maybe, right? So at that time, you can just ask his account details and add it in the bucket policy itself. So those are two use cases in case of cross account. All right. Thank you, Sunil. Difference between ACL and S3 bucket policy. S3 bucket policy is there for the whole bucket, whereas ACL can apply to individual objects. These things, guys, you can just Google it, okay? Google and try it out a bit. How to integrate with 1 volt IAM, Pratyush, with this, with that particular specific tool I have not worked, so not sure. All right. In this situation, if is there any openings on AWS Cloud Architect Engineer in India, please help me. If you are connected with us on LinkedIn, I do share all the vacancies which I get to know about. So you may get benefited from that. All right, there's the last question from Darshana. How can we enable two lifecycle rules for S3 with the help of cloud formation? I mean, multiple rule features for lifecycle. Um, and what is the problem? Are you not able to do it? What challenge have you faced? CloudFormation supports S3 lifecycle policy or not? That thing we'll have to check. I think it should support. There should not be a problem in that. Yes, it does support. So you should be able to specify to what's the challenge which you are facing. Okay, with CF, I don't know. I mean, so it's like this. The way you need to understand that, Darshana, is if you are able to do something via console, then uh, 99.5% of times it is going to be possible via CLI and cloud formation as well. That's how it is. You will be able to do that because ultimately it all has to convert to some backend code. Even from the management console, that's how it is going to. Okay. A quick announcement. Some of you would have seen. I'll be doing a live session with next weekend. So which is Sunday, uh, 19th. That would be in the evening, and we are going to talk about some of the interesting stuff. If you are interested, join us and attend that at 7 p.m. IST. It would be there on 19th. Uh, you can you can go ahead and put a reminder if you want. All right. So I think that's pretty much. Uh, you know, Thank you, Praneeth. Yes, I'll keep the session this way. The only thing is, I would require support from everyone to keep this running. Uh, So people who are still watching, and if you have not liked it, not shared it, please do that. If you got benefited from this session, pick this URL and go ahead and share it. Share it on LinkedIn that you attended this live session, what questions you got answered. Maybe just put a line around that so that people get to know about it, right? We will again meet for another live session, which would happen after 2 weeks once again. And at that time, we are going to take questions related to VPC. As you can see on the screen, we will be taking questions related to VPC. So there is a networking playlist, networking playlist on our channel. You can go ahead and look at that networking playlist and try to cover all of things given there. And then whatever VPC or networking related doubts you will have, we'll try to take that in that particular session. So today is 12th. We will meet again on 26th, 9 a.m. IST. Okay. So that's what we'll do. And if you are getting benefited, please do share. You can also start writing things based on your understanding. That would be a very good way of validating yourself, right? So things which you are learning, uh, spend some time writing about it, or try to solve some problem and explain that problem in any of the social platform. uh, I'm sure we have a lot of videos which can help you learn and do stuff, but As you do it, you may also go ahead and write things that should help you. Uh, right. Okay, so with that, we will probably go ahead and close the session. I hope you got benefited. If you did, please do like and share this video. We'll meet again after 2 weeks, and next Sunday, if you want to have some real, practical things to be, if you want to hear some practical stuff, come and join. We will talk about many things and type of myths which people think, and you might be surprised on some of that. So join us at 7 p.m. IST on Sunday, 19th of July. I'll be talking with Chirag Nair. All right, guys. So with that, we will go ahead and close the session. Take care. Do well. Bye bye.